Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am making a mommy and me mask for my cousin and her little girl. These masks are super easy to make and don't require a pattern at all. With just a few steps, you can create a mask yourself at home if you have a sewing machine and an iron. If you try this tutorial, I would love to know what you thought. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know how your masks turned out. I would love it if you hit the like button on this video and subscribe for more content. I'm using a portion of 2 fat quarters to make these 2 masks. I'm just going to take this lining fabric and iron out all of the creases. I'm going to do the same for my main fabric. Then I'm going to lay them both flat on top of each other onto my cutting mat, and I'm going to straighten the edges. As soon as I have those nice straight edges, I'm taking this large square grid ruler and my rotary cutters to cut a 7-inch and 8-inch square from both the focus fabric and the lining fabric. I am using a directional print, so I wanted to make note of that when I go to cut out these pieces. I am going to turn these so that the fabrics are right sides together before I head to my sewing machine. Setting my machine to the triple stitch so that I can stitch my ear material. I cannot find any elastic near me because it's sold out for others making masks. So I'm making my own out of some jersey knit material that I bought online. I cut 1.5-inch strips and folded them together, and I'm just sewing with a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Once I have that tube, I'm putting it onto a loop turner and I am turning it inside out. Steam iron to press that seam down. I typically like to press the seam to one side, but this material wanted to have the seam in the middle, so I went with it. For the adult size mask, I cut my elastic ear pieces at 7-inch lengths, and for the toddler size mask, I cut them at 6-inch lengths. Depending on what size square you start with, I find that typically about 1 inch to 1.5 inches smaller works for the ear measurement. So if you have an 8-inch square for your mask, a 7-inch piece of ear material will work just fine. Making sure that my fabric are both facing the same direction, and I am going to sew 2 seams, one on the top and one on the bottom, using a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Make sure that if you are using directional prints that you are sewing on the top and bottom and you don't have your print backwards. I'm taking one of those ear material pieces and I am lining up the raw edge of the ear material piece with the raw edge of the focal point fabric and lining fabrics, sandwiching it in between. I'm butting it up right up next to the seam. I'm going to put that into the machine, and with a 1/4-inch seam allowance, I'm going to backstitch over it and then sew down about halfway. Once I get to the halfway point, I'm going to reach in between the material and pull the other end of the ear elastic, being careful not to twist it, and I am lining that up with the bottom seam. I'm going to sew all the way down and backstitch again when I reach the end. With the second piece of ear elastic, I'm going to put that inside once again, butting it up close to that seam on the top. I'm going to backstitch over it, and I'm going to sew down about 1/3 of the way, and then I'm going to backstitch and take it out of the machine. I'm going to reach in for that elastic, butt it up next to the other seam, and again put it back in the machine, backstitching over the elastic and sewing about 1/3 of the way down. I'm leaving about a 1.5 to 2 inch opening on this edge for turning later. Using a pair of fabric shears, I am going to trim one side off of each corner. I'm not trimming the edge that has the raw side of the ear elastic, I'm just trimming the other side. I find that leaving that ear elastic lets it have a little bit more room to be pulled on and stretched on without it coming out of the mask material. It also helps when we top stitch this at the last step. So after I get those 4 corners half trimmed, I'm going to turn this mask right side out. I'm putting my finger in the corners and pushing those out first before I pull the rest of the fabric material through the opening. I'm just going to repeat all of those steps with the other mask. Again, sew the top and bottom seams, and then I'm going to sew in the ear elastic, butting the edges up against the seams, sewing all the way down on one side and leaving a 2-inch opening on the other side, making sure to backstitch when you get to each end of the elastic. Again, I'm partially trimming those corners, being very careful not to snip your stitches, and then I'm going to turn this right side out. Next, you're going to want to press the masks, so I'm pressing all of the seams first, being careful to make sure that both sides are even and they don't overlap on each other. I'm also being careful to press that opening closed and making sure that no fabric is sticking out. I'm going to fold this in half and press it down with the steam iron, and then open that and fold both top and bottom in towards that middle crease and press. Then I'm going to take the bottom and fold it up to the top crease, and then fold it back down on itself, lining up that fold with the bottom crease. Make sure you give that a very good press. Flip the mask over, fold the bottom edge up to meet the top, and then fold it back down on itself again, giving it another really good press. After you've pressed in the pleats, now it's time to top stitch. I top stitched this with about an 1/8 inch allowance, back stitching once you get back to the beginning. I like to sew with my needle in the down position so that when I reach the corners I can lift the presser foot and my needle is still down in the fabric. It makes it really nice to turn the mask going around the corners. And as soon as you clip your threads, your mask is finished. Together, my family and I have made over 330 masks. We have sent them all over the United States, as well as distributed a bulk of that to our local communities. Our favorite material to make these masks with is batik quilting cottons. They are a very tight woven fabric and they do have beautiful prints. Those are typically what I make these masks out of, but this material here is a high quality quilting cotton, which is also very tightly woven, to make this mommy and me mask for my cousin and her daughter. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!